Well, what's up, everybody? I hope that you are doing well. Um, so I got this Mac Mini set up, and I was up pretty late last night setting it up, but I just realized for some reason, and we don't know what that is, but my soundboard didn't react properly. Did you guys hear that? I'm assuming you did, and if you did, okay. Why? Okay, that's good. That works. Hit the like button. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you guys. Moved a couple of things around. I was trying to reorganize my monitors and camera yesterday, and yeah, it it didn't work. It didn't work. What's going on in Christianity is basically the young dawn apostasy. Um, yeah, I noticed he was on with. I haven't watched it. I just really have not had time till today to sit down and listen to some stuff. And even at that, I listened to like 18 minutes of something. But I did notice yesterday he was on with Derek from Myth Vision. And he shed light on Corey Miner's scandal that happened while he was a pastor. Okay. And as far as I know, Corey's like he hasn't. Well, let me just say that he said there was something. I don't know whether he's gotten into details. Amen, brother. There was a debate over determinism being biblical that has been a fight of Karen-esque proportions. That's good. I like that. Karen-esque proportions. Where was that conversation? Let me know where that was. That debate. That stream was interesting to hear about the story of moving to Chris Lasala's compound. Kevin, are you talking? Did he go over all these things with Myth Vision? Because that'd be something I'd be interested in listening to. Yeah, I'll link it in a second. Thanks. The debate and the conversation fallout has been shameful. Whoa, guys, what is going on? Oh no. Are people just discovering that Christians disagree about these things? Hey, what's up? Oh man, what is this? Is determinism biblical? Standing for Truth Ministries. Where's this stuff coming from? Okay. Oh, 2 hours and 40 seconds. Israel Troilo. I think I'm Facebook friends with Israel, and he's been on the channel too, if I'm not mistaken. This should be interesting. Okay. Y'all are like the gossip column. Hey, hit the like button, you guys. There's 9 of us in here, and there's 3 people who hit the like button. So I'm assuming this is the debate that we're looking at. The opening by the determinist was nasty. Way too loud. Why is this so loud in my ears? Nice
All
intro,
right,
man.
welcome everybody to Standing for Truth. Fact-based determinism biblical. There he is. Good to have you. And I got to say, I am thrilled to have these gentlemen.
Okay, I don't know, man. I don't know whether I want to invest into that stuff. Hey, does the studio look a little darker? Like, am I redder or something? Or does everything look fine? I have tanned recently. The weather is phenomenal here in Los Angeles. I should say, you guys, the weather is magnificent. But it probably won't be past 5 p.m. because it gets really cold. But it's solid. I'm enjoying it. The last 2 days I've been in short sleeve. And so enjoying that. I do have an appointment. I have a doctor's appointment for my eyes today. I'm gonna get new glasses. Hey, what do you guys think about this? These are old glasses I have, and I was thinking about going back to them, and they're in very good shape, as a matter of fact, and they're pretty expensive glasses. They are probably the lightest glasses I've ever owned. No joke. They are Ray-Bans. What do you guys think if I were to go from there to there? I sort of don't like these anymore. They look strange. But I don't know, because they're old prescriptions, so I can't see clearly. I guess I can pull them off. But does anybody need these? It's dead serious, you guys. If you want these glasses, all you would need to do is, they're in pretty decent shape. They have some scratches on, but you can't tell. You just need to change the lenses. You're good. You're good to go. I will mail these to you. Oh, they also have, I just realized they have reflective coating and stuff on it. You look intelligent with them on. I don't look intelligent with these on, but I look intelligent with these on. I like that. New ones were better. So these are not new ones. These are old ones. But I'm dead serious. If you need glasses, I will send you these. I don't think I'll stick with them. I sort of want to keep with the mail me your pool shirt. Right. That one is a game jersey. It's expensive. The clear ones are nice. So I still want to, I might get clear ones. I don't know. I kind of want to like go with the rounder look. But yeah. And I bought these because I like the clear and the green kind of, flowed well together, but I didn't even realize I had them still until I was going through some stuff in the office yesterday as I was getting everything set up, and I was like, "Oh, I still have these glasses." So we'll see. I have my eyes on a pair of glasses, and they're kind of like they sort of scream at you. And my wife likes it, sort of, but then everybody else I've asked thinks they essentially don't like it. Trying to see if I have a picture. I'll show you the style I'm trying to go for, but people think it's bad. But with glasses, it's really, really funny because people haven't seen you in them, and so when you go, hey, what do you think about this? They go, oh no, it doesn't look good, and then you wear it. They're like, oh, that looks good, because they kind of get used to that look. Do I not have a picture of that? There it is, I think. Recover. I'm going to show you guys this. I'm going to show you. I'll try to pull this up for you. So I want to go around this sort of a look. So ignore the beard. The beard is no more beard like that. I took this picture when I had a beard, and I suppose it's going to look very differently. Okay. So, what do you guys think about that sort of a look? Not necessarily those ones. But you get what I mean when I say they kind of scream at you? I probably won't trust anything the guys say anyways. Hey, Nick, are you serious about that? Nick, do you really want these? Wow, Nick. I said, you look like you are vying for an MSNBC gig. Bro, come on, man. Hey, Nick, seriously, if you are serious, if you're serious about these, and then I'm gonna have these as well to give away, and then I got another one that's square like this, but is essentially it's the same prescription as this. So I got some pairs of glasses I can give you guys if you want it, because most likely I will get a new pair of glasses. Just collecting them. I might have some other places as well. So I want to hang out with you and enjoy mead if you want to give. Yeah, I just again, it's if people have a need for it, I'll give them, no doubt. Okay, the mead's happening, man. Don't worry about that. You guys, I took some pictures yesterday. I want to show you guys the difference between the size of a Mac Mini and, well, I want to show you the difference between two Mac Minis, M1 chip and M4 chip. Look at this. Okay, this was the older computer we were using. This is the newer one. That's them stacked up on top. Just I'm fascinated with this computer and its size. Like the other one was on the wall, I had it mounted. This one's just on my desk because it barely takes up any space. Look at that. I'd say that's about 50% smaller. It is a bit thicker, I think. Yeah, it's a bit thicker, but man, it saves a lot of room. Yeah, I definitely think there's a 50% difference. I'd say there's a 50% size difference. And again, I don't know exactly details on that. That's a David said that's a computer. Yes, it's a desktop actually. Both of those are. And it was really cool. Yesterday so we're about I told you guys we're about like 500 some odd dollars fundraised, and we got some that came in yesterday from Amber. And then I put a post up on Instagram, and I was like, "Hey, we're fundraising for a computer," because I was going to buy it. I was like, "We're going to buy it anyways." So if anybody wants to, give towards that, we take it. And then we had a gentleman that just DM me, and someone DM'd me, and they were like, "Hey, I'll give $100 towards it." So we got an extra $100 yesterday. That went on top of the 5 something we had raised. So we're at 6 something now. So we got about $200 to go to be fully fundraised. Then I got to buy some accessories for it and all that stuff too. So it is a computer. It's called the Mac Mini. The base model's like $600. It's worth it. If you have a monitor and keyboard and a mouse and all that stuff, and you're doing kind of basic, I mean, not even basic, but if you're doing computational sort of stuff, and the fact that we're running this entire YouTube channel off of that tiny little Mac Mini and I got 2 monitors connected to it. I got a Rodecaster connected to it. I have a camera connected to it. I don't know. I don't know what else I can connect to it. So I saw that. I watched. So George Janko's podcast had like a bunch of people for his like 100th episode. And so yeah, Ruslan was there. I watched like 10, 15 minutes of it today or something, or 18 minutes of it. So good for Ruslan. Hey guys, again, feel free to drop some questions. Are there anything? Are there? Look, I know you guys told me kind of what's going on. Is there a way for you guys to send me timestamps that I can look at? Because I don't want to sit there and watch 2 hours and 40 minutes of a debate, the one Nick sent. Or I'm guessing the other one that we were speaking about had to do with Young Dawn going on with what's his name? Derek from Myth Vision. I love how everybody that comes out and says they're no longer a Christian ends up on Derek's channel. People need to really slow down, man. Like Christians, non-Christians. So just again, say Don just deconverted or whatever, and then he does this whole thing. He's debating people. He goes on Myth Vision. Like, just suppose in like 6 months, Don goes, "You know what? I was wrong." Just guys, put on the brakes. People who become Christians as well, put on the brakes. I'd say the same thing. Like, you become a Christian and you're popular or somewhat popular or whatever like that, and next thing you know, you're on like everyone's channel. Like, it's better to say no. Just don't go. Don't do it. I think the next upgrade we're gonna do on this channel, by the way, is getting a new desk. Or if I can get everything, I highly doubt I can. So thinking if I can get everything connected on my desk that's over there, it goes up and down. But I doubt it. Kevin says 2 hours 44 minutes. Oh my god, it's a 5-hour, 5.5 hour conversation. Oh, I didn't even realize that. They talked for 5.5 hours? Okay. He said 2 hours and 40. I thought he was saying it was that long. 2 hours and 44 minutes. Let's go. I'm just curious about some of the stuff that Don's gone through, actually. Guys, if there's any issues with audio or anything like that, just let me know, because because it's a new computer, even though I moved everything over from my old computer to this computer, same setup. You can do that with Apple computers where all your settings, everything comes through. But when it comes to hardware connections, you got to give it permission. And then I'm realizing, like, I'm hitting play on certain things, and it's like, oh, you haven't given this permission. So, okay, let's see.
And all of these things. And so I care a lot about his opinion. I think that this guy is the closest thing I've come to with a pastor with really good doctrine. We see eye to eye on a lot of things. And, I believe what he's saying about Ahab, right? I believe in this doctrine that he's preaching about Ahab. In fact, I have a document with a letter that he had sent me, some material he sent me in regards to, let's see here, in regards to what an Ahab is. Like, give me a second to like make sure I pull up the right thing.
No worries.
Okay, I
Let me just again, I've jumped in halfway here, but I can almost kind of assume what they're talking about. Anybody that takes characters from the Bible and turns it into a doctrinal point. I've made videos on the whole Jezebel stuff. And it's funny, like Ahab and Jezebel. And there is biblical grounds, for example, Jezebel and the way it's spoken about in the book of Revelation. But when you break it down, you realize it doesn't mean what people are saying. I'm assuming here, like I've listened to 40 seconds of this or something. I'm assuming when he's talking about an Ahab, he's talking about a passive man that doesn't lead his family, doesn't lead his wife, or something like that. It's essentially like a pansy. Lets his wife call all the shots and stuff like that. That's what my assumption would be. Okay. That's what my assumption would be. But be careful, I would say, to anyone, not to take just characters we see in the Bible and then turn them into spirits and demons and these sorts of things. Like, do not do that. Unless you have biblical grounds to use that thing as a typology, you have to use that thing like more symbolically. Like I said, Jezebel is used a certain way in the book of Revelation. But that is so common. I hear that so much. So, just like, again, for me, that's suspect. Immediately when somebody says something like that, it's absolutely suspect to me. If somebody comes to me and says, I think you have the spirit of Ahab, and I'm like, okay, bro, if you just want to tell me I'm too passive as a man, just say it. Say, hey, man, you need to man up. Like, lead your family. Like, don't be like you have the spirit of Ahab. Like, what the heck is that? Like, Ahab died and the spirit floats around and goes into people. Right? Or like Ahab was demon possessed and there's a demon named Ahab now. Like, come on.
I got him here. So I'll just show. He sent me 3, and I'll show you. Okay, so if I can just to share with you what the doctrine sounds like. This is something he typed up himself and sent it to me via Skype, and I have that evidence that that is the case. And I'll just show you one document. So I'll share this with you.
All right.
Okay. All right. So if you share it, and I'm going to zoom in right here. I don't know if it doesn't look like it's coming through on the screen when I zoom in. But okay. All right. But this is what it here. Maybe I can zoom in like this. Yeah. That's
there
right.
we go.
So this is just an example, right, of the kind of doctrine I'm talking
His wife
about
teaches
here.
him more than
So this is like the worst form of Ahab. There are different tiers of Ahab, but this is the worst form. He says he would rather cuddle with his wife all day rather than serve God or work. He frequently does the chores of a housewife while his wife is able-bodied to handle keeping the home. He allows his wife to fully alter the way he views his friends, meaning his wife's opinions matters on the people that are in his life, aka, you know, if I have problems with my wife's opinion of a certain person, you know, that you're being an Ahab. He stands at attention when his wife enters a room like a private in the military, submitting to a drill sergeant.
Sounds sarcastic, but
Yeah.
Who does that? I'm sorry, man. Who does that? Do you guys know anyone like whose wife walks into a room and the guy like stands up?
He runs after his wife when she walks away out of nowhere or throws a tantrum. He allows his wife to administer orders and requests at random intervals throughout the day, similar to being in a workplace and getting orders from a shift supervisor. He only hangs out with men on special occasions when his wife lets him off the leash. He admits that his wife calls upon him, that when his wife calls upon him, he has to run home and confesses she wears the pants, saying things like, the boss is calling, I need to run. Or, you know, like, oh, you know, the wife, things like that. You know, then he abandons his ministry work immediately to chase or appease his wife. He fears his mother-in-law and adjusts himself to her gaslighting. He's afraid to confront his wife when her attitude peaks. They know they predominantly do what their wives want them to do. His wife teaches him more than he teaches her. He spends all of his time as his wife's lapdog. He's too much of a coward to correct his wife. He can't leave the house other than to go to work unless his wife allows. She allows him to work so he can make money, but she doesn't allow her husband to give love to individuals other than her, or to people who hold to her control over him. He grovels in fear and begs when his wife threatens divorce. He can't even function when his wife is stressing him out. He begs for sex and chases his wife around. So that's like a full-blown Ahab, right? That's like a thing. And, you know, I suppose someone could make the argument that there are some things on there that I agree with. Like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be afraid to confront your wife if there's a problem. You know what I mean? Like, say something to her if you have an issue with something.
You would agree with.
Brother, if that's happening in someone's life, they need to get counseling, marriage counseling, ASAP now. If that's actually what certain men are like, they need to man up. You don't have to call them an Ahab or something like that. Just man up. You're not being a man. But you know, some things are sensible. If my wife calls me right now and says, hey, I need your help with the baby because whatever, something happens. Let's say she, you know, spilled a bunch of water everywhere and she's like, oh, I got to juggle it. The loving thing to do would be for me to go and care for my wife. As my mentor says, your wife is your closest neighbor, and Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. And so these overgeneralizations are just hilarious to me. Hilarious. See, here's the thing. Here's what makes me question Dawn. Is Dawn, you get something like that, and then you thought it was a good idea to, I don't know, give a place of authority to that individual?
With me this entire thing is a way of just, she needs to shut up and obey everything. You need to run it all. Like you need to be able to come home and go, oh, well, I made new friends. Oh, we're moving to this place. And anything you say should be like, go.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what this is. This is the manifesto of how do we make sure the fall of Adam and Eve doesn't happen all over again. Like that's really all this is. And the way
right.
No, it's not, Derek.
Patriotic and
that's nonsense. No, it's not. No, it's not. This is just bad theology. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and died for her. That a bunch of stuff in there immediately violates what Scripture says about husbands. So, like, Derek, stop trying to be an opportunist, bro. Like, oh, this is trying to make sure that the Adam and Eve story doesn't happen. No, no, it's not.
Core, like 100%.
Oh yeah, and then here, you know what? And you know what? There might be even some conservative Christians that would say, that is, you know, some of those things I think are reasonable, even. And I gotta admit that there might be one or two things there. Maybe I would articulate it a little differently, but I'm like, you know what? I might agree with a little bit with that there. But this one, a mid-tier self-deceived Ahab. So now he would consider me a full-blown mega Ahab, right?
Yeah, but the question is not what. Again, they're speaking about Chris Lasala. The question is not what Chris would conceive you and view you now. The question is when you saw that, you made certain decisions in your life. Like, why didn't you see that clearly when? I don't know, bro. I can almost guarantee you, I know at least one person that, Don, you could have sent that to, and who would have told you, don't listen to that stuff. What are you doing? Get into a church. But again, being, I you know, Brooklyn losing the house, and Brooklyn says, he says Don was tossed to and fro. Yeah, like literally, because as far as I remember, it was keeping the law, not necessarily Hebrew Israelism, but like law keeping sort of stuff. And then it was that, like, there's instability generally speaking, and that's a problem. And what does that come from? I don't know, but I can tell you examples I've seen over the years what that comes from. And again, I'm not specifically, I've had conversations with Don, and I don't know what that would have come from in his life, but it's something that he should think about. Where does it come from? For some people, it comes from pride, 100%. Again, I've been in ministry long enough to know that. They don't want to be corrected because they're proud. For some people, they don't have the ability to think critically. For some people, they've, bought into the entire conspiracy theories, and so whatever you say falls into some kind of a conspiratorial thinking. So, like, I don't know specifically. All I know are options. But how do you read that and think it's good? I don't know. I don't know how that would happen.
Where I am today, I'm a mega Ahab. But this is the mid-tier Ahab. It's kind of like you work your way up to being a mega Ahab. And here, let's see. Oh, actually, I need to share a different one with you.
Okay.
Remove from stage or stop. Oh, my bad. Stop, share, present, share screen, window. I think it's this one. Let's see here. Share. All right. Yeah, I think this is it now. So this is the one that at the time he sent this to me, he said, it basically said that, I'm falling into some of these. He wouldn't have at that point in time called me a full-blown dress-wearing Ahab, but he was like, you're showing symptoms of Ahab. You know what I mean? Because I was clearly at the time concerned about the fact that my wife didn't want to go, even though I wanted to go. My wife didn't want to go, and I was taking that into consideration. And so he sends this to me, and my wife hated this because he sent it to me while I'm on stream. Because I'm talking about Ahab, he's teaching me these things, and I'm in a way also trying to prime my audience that I'm going to make this move. And I guess there's a part of me that recognizes that this might cause conflict with my wife. And so I'm trying to prime my audience with this doctrine of Ahab stuff. And so mid me talking about it, he sends this to me, like, to read it on stream, kind of so that I would have video evidence. There'd be video evidence of me articulating all this stuff, so that if I were to ever switch up and try to start being more accommodating to my wife, I can be made to be seen double-minded, hypocritical, and all the works, right?
Right.
And at the time, I was all bought in. I was like, there's no way this guy's not a true man of God, and so I'm just rocking with this. So, okay, some of this stuff, I think even conservative MAGA voting Christians, some of this stuff they're going to think is kind of ridiculous, right? So he says,
hey, the one you just read, I thought was ridiculous. I don't know how much more ridiculous can you get.
Huh? Yeah. Oh, yes. Let me zoom in again. Oh,
That's
that was
not
an
it.
accident. That was some stock footage.
Yep.
Here, let me
All
let me
about
pull it back up.
it.
Yeah, that was a
Everybody
stock
got
footage
that
for a video I was
B-roll.
working on.
Everybody got that
Absolutely.
B-roll, Don. We're all working
By the
with
way, my
B-rolls.
middle name is Ahab, and I have T-shirts with the name Ahab. My shoes are made
Really?
in Ahab. Yeah, dude, straight from Ahab. My shirt says "Made in Ahab." I'm totally kidding. I'm just saying. Like, I
Yeah.
listen to my partner, and we have a mutual like
Hey,
respect.
what's up with the like to my partner language, like instead of my wife and my husband? I don't like. I get it, but I get it in certain lights. It just bugs me. Like, you're married, bro. If you want a partner, just like partner up. Don't get married, so you don't have to say that's my wife. That bugs me. Now, Derek can say it because Derek's bought in probably to, I'm pretty sure Derek's like full in on the whole alphabet soup acceptance stuff. So that's why he says partner, because he wants to be equal with, on equal par with a, homosexual man or a homosexual woman saying, this is my partner. You know what I mean?
For each other. It's a really odd thing because I was in this kind of toxic masculinity type of shut her up and she better do everything you say kind of thing.
That is so
Yeah.
stupid.
That's the kind of Christianity I was part of.
Were you really? Like, is that how you see? These things, guys, are concerning to me because I would consider myself a pretty conservative Christian. That's not the way I treat my wife. You guys smoking something, bro. What is wrong with you? So here are the issues that I guess I have is when people go, I deconverted, and then they tell me the stuff they deconverted from, and I kind of look at them and I go, like, seriously? You guys on crack? You read the Bible, and the Bible told you, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and laid his life down for her, and you thought that meant psycho-dominating your wife and being toxic, and then you try to throw people like me into that sort of camp, and you go, I deconverted from Christianity. No, you deconverted from stupidity. That's what you deconverted from. Like, who were you hanging out with? Did you not have the ability to think for yourself? Am I wrong for questioning your reasoning skills at the time when you believe these things? Did you not have mentors who were solid people who've been married for 40 years and 30 years and loved their wives and their wives cherished them? Who would throw themselves under a bus for their family? Yeah, Lou, I know exactly why people use partner, and I don't necessarily have an issue with the use of it in certain circumstances. I mean, there's certain contexts where I would refer to my wife as my partner because she is my partner. I think that's biblical, right? The two become one flesh, right? But if that's all a spouse is a partner, and I get that you're trying to get rid of religious language and religious meanings into these things, which makes sense. When you give up religion, you give that stuff up too. Let's not be surprised when everybody goes haywire and the whole wokeism nonsense is taking over the world. Y'all did it, is what I would say. But again, like, just going back to like, that's what I deconverted from. When I hear these things, it's the equivalent. Let me put it this way. Just let's work with the atheists here. If somebody came and said, hey, I just became a Christian, and we go, wow, amazing, phenomenal. And they go, oh, I was an atheist. And you go, well, what did that atheism look like for you? And then they start giving you forms of atheism that are like off the wall, wild nonsense. Like where their reasoning skills are legitimately called into question. Where the reason why, let's just put it this way, where the reason why they were an atheist was a rejection of every single caricature about Christianity and God you can think about. I refuse to believe that God is an old man in the sky with a beard that judges us. And you kind of go, okay, maybe you hadn't thought well enough as to what the religious claims were. Like, I think atheists would have a point in calling that person and their previous atheism into question as someone maybe who hadn't really thought through these things. And maybe they didn't really go from atheism to Christianity. They just became Christians, but they had all these faulty ideas. I say that because I think I am completely at liberty to respond to individuals like Derek who go, oh, that's the sort of stuff I believe. That's the sort of culture I was. And I go, what is wrong? What is wrong with you? I've been a Christian for 20 some odd years. I've been married. For coming up May, we'll be married 12 years. I got 4 kids. I come from a culture where manliness is celebrated. Right? If you don't trust me on that, you can listen to Joe Rogan talking about Armenian men. Because he says, I think they're like the last manly men remaining on the planet or something. He makes some kind of a comment like that. And yet I can balance out, and my wife can balance out as to what we think is biblical masculinity, biblical femininity, what it looks like in society. We can distinguish that from what it looks like in our family and how we work together. Like, seriously, you just wanted to like, there's things I want to say that I can't. I probably get flagged. That's the thing. Right? I'm a real manly man atheist. Yeah, that's good. That's good. But like, how do you say as a Christian, I love my wife and I love Jesus? And the following sentence is, my wife's opinions do not matter to me. If those things, you believe those things to be true about yourself, loving your wife, loving Jesus, and then completely devaluing the opinions of your wife about moving states and moving into certain locations and X, Y, and Z, then something's off there. And what's off is not the actual teaching of these things. What's off is your reasoning skills. That's what's off.
And I'm only doing this, not because I don't want to be called a liar. I have evidence. The Skype, I already have it screened. Don't try and delete any messages now because I already don't try and delete any messages now because I already screen recorded that I got this from where I got it. So no one can call me a liar that this isn't doctrine that was taught to me directly. Well, it says, okay, a mid-tier self-deceived Ahab. This is where I was showing symptoms of Ahabery. He likes hanging out with his wife or with his brethren. Or no, he.
Oh, man.
This is a sickness of the highest order.
That's good, Don. Symptoms of Ahabery. See, I mean, look, we can laugh over these things. We can laugh now. And again, there's 2 guys that, Derek says let's just say he's atheist, agnostic, or whatever, and let's just say the same of Don. Always want to go back to, what were you thinking? So let's. Pine Creek says, to be fair, in certain areas, your wife's opinion may be stupid. Correct. And in certain cases, your opinion may be stupid, as opposed to your wife's opinion. If you've never had a stupid opinion, or if you think you've never had a stupid opinion, Doug, I hope you'd agree with me on this, then you are extremely proud and arrogant. We've all had stupid opinions. I mean, look, I say dumb stuff all the time. And now I don't think they're dumb when I'm saying them. I believe them to be true because that's how knowledge works. And then we have conversations, and then it's shown that my opinions aren't good, and I go, oh, okay, let's move on. See what I mean, guys? It's okay. Ahabbery. That's so funny.
Likes hanging out with his brethren more than his wife, but will drop them when his wife gets angry. He does house chores when his wife gets mad at him and acts like she can't handle life. He tries to find fault in male members of the fellowship at random times so he can show his wife that he hears her out, her perspective and her perspectives on his brethren. AKA, if your wife has any negative opinions of one of your brethren, they're completely invalid. And if you think they're valid, you're an Ahab. He gets summoned by his wife and he makes an excuse why the summoning was logical. That's what he calls if your wife is like calling you to, like, you know, she needs you for something. That's her summoning you. Then he waits 10 more minutes to make himself feel like he controls his own decision, but it's clear that he's afraid that he's not running the home. It's clear that he's afraid that he is not running home, then gets up and obeys his wife. So basically, you're chilling with your boys. You get a call from your wife. Hey, you've been out a long time. Where are you? Oh, I've been chilling with the boys. Oh, okay. Well, you know, I'd like it if you were to come home soon, or, you know, I want to spend time with you too, or da da da. If your response to that is, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna come home and spend some time with you. My wife is calling for me. You're an Ahab. He waits for 5 or 10 minutes to leave the work of God when his wife gives him a call. So you're doing something, you're in the middle of casting out demons, and you've been casting out demons for like the last 2 hours, and your wife gives you a call saying that she needs you or something like that, and then you like just stay for an extra 10 minutes to appear like you're not just running at her call. That is Ahab material. He allows his wife to give him orders and ask him to do things sometimes when she is in a bad mood. So if she's in a bad mood and she wants you to help her out with something, if you do it, you're a weak, effeminate man. He is always the first to have to go home and is absent from well over 50% of the group fellowship activities that the men do. This is also priming me, by the way. This is priming me for when I'm there. Like, they link up very frequently. The people at this ministry link up very frequently to fellowship with one another. Let's just call it that. They're fellowshipping with one another. And he's just letting me know, if you're not at more than 50% of these, you're an Ahab. They're not going to.
That sounds cultish. Saying, look, I fellowship with my brothers at the church, and we fellowship as a church together a lot. As a matter of fact, today I have Bible study. Most likely after Bible study, a bunch of the guys will hang out together. Probably till like 11:30 at night. It's what we do on Thursdays after Bible study. Yeah, and the whole priming language is
buy that you genuinely just want to be with your wife, or there's something wrong with you if you genuinely want to be with your wife so much when when the guys are linking up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. He allows his wife to dress inappropriately publicly at times. This just means jeans, right?
Wait, what? Seriously? Okay.
She's not allowed to wear jeans. She has to wear a dress covered up, and she has to wear a head covering at church.
Yeah, okay.
At the very least. It'd be best if she wore a head covering all the time, but at the very least, she must wear a head covering at fellowship, and she should be, fully covered up from neck to knee, and a dress preferably. All right. And no pants, unless she's wearing a dress over the pants. Okay. He allows a mother-in-law to meddle in the marriage, but bickers with her, pretending he's standing ground. Okay. He
This guy is
tolerates.
married, by the way. I mean,
He
like,
is. He's actually married and he has a lot of children.
okay, she must totally like
I have
he.
no comments on
I
their marriage. I have
know,
no
I'm
comments
thinking
on
of an
the
insider, right?
health
Like,
of their marriage. I'm just showing you what he
yeah, no,
sent to
I'm
me.
just.
Yeah.
This is the worst advice. Anyway, please continue. But
Yeah. Yeah. You know. So anyway, they convince
But see, here's the
themselves.
thing. Here's the thing to me. Okay, so I get what Derek's saying, and I agree with what Derek's saying. Derek, you just said that's the kind of stuff you came out of. You deconverted from that kind of stuff. Were you not, as an 18, 19-year-old man, observant, looking around and seeing whether people's families were healthy? Why was that not happening? Again, there could probably be only a limited amount, probably a handful of reasons as to why you weren't doing that. If it's true that you came out of that, or did you just come out of kind of normal folk situations? I don't know, like normal guy situations. People who didn't necessarily refer to their wives as their partners. And somehow that's a big problem now, I guess.
They want to be doing what their wife wants to do, but everyone around them knows they are just subservient to their wives and doing her will. He encourages his wife to study the word, but does not take strong stances teaching her because he allows her to come to her own conclusions. So your wife is not allowed to have her own doctrine, by the way. Your wife must submit to your doctrine. So if she reads and interprets the Bible a little differently than you in regards to something, there is no let's agree to disagree. If you entertain that energy, you're an Ahab. You know what I'm saying? Now, he would never tell you to, you know what I'm saying, like become physical with her or become abusive with her to force her to do something. So like, you know, let's say she wants to wear pants. Yeah, he's not going to tell you to hold her down and put a dress on her or lock the door and she's not allowed to leave the house with pants on or, you know, anything of that nature. But you need to make it very, very clear that you are completely displeased with her if there is some kind of, you know, disagreement in doctrine, especially if it's a kind of doctrine that results in behavioral change, like what you wear, for instance. You know what I'm saying? He probably doesn't have this position so much if you guys disagree on like annihilationism or something like that. He's probably not going to. It's really more when it comes to doctrine that influences the decisions you make. All right, continuing. Spends little to no time fellowshipping with
all doctrine influences the decisions you make. Clearly.
With his brethren and constantly makes excuses for the many reasons he needs to be near or around his wife. Does not hold his wife accountable to grow. Okay, does not hold his wife accountable. I guess that's a typo. Yeah, does not hold his wife accountable to grow in the Lord and does not rebuke her for lack of growth. He can leave the house to be with other brethren sometimes for a short time, but always has to report back home as his wife will call him every hour or two for an update on his return. So apparently 2 hours is like a short amount of time to spend. As a grown adult married man with children with a woman, 2 hours is considered like not a long time. And so if you've been gone for 2 hours, then it's unreasonable for her to call and ask if you're coming back anytime soon. But you know, and think about going to fellowship. I've been a part of churches where they have Bible studies and things like of that nature. 2 hours is about as long as you would need to spend in such a setting, right? Outside of work and going to church and all of that. Like once a week, there's a Bible study, let's say. Well, if it's 2 hours long, that's cool, right? You know, but that seems as a short amount of time and unreasonable. Basically, you should be able to leave your wife watching the children by herself. You know, you've already spent however many hours in the week at work. You're already going to spend time at church. If you can't also, on a whim, go spend 4, 5, 6 hours hanging out with the guys, fellowshipping, whatever fellowshipping means, you're an Ahab. You know what I'm saying? Pretends he is willing to be separated, but he cracks like an egg when his wife threatens divorce. So if your wife says, hey, listen, if this happens or this doesn't change, I don't want to be with you anymore. You cannot you can't entertain that any at all. Like, you can't flinch. It doesn't matter her reasoning why, because you're a man of God. You know you're doing the right thing, whatever it is that you're doing. And so whatever reason she's coming to you threatening you with divorce is bullshit. And if you flinch, you're an Ahab, right? Don't fight for your marriage. If she really loves you, she'll stay. And if God wants her to be with you, he'll keep you guys together. If he doesn't, maybe he doesn't want you to be with that woman. And so let her leave. Don't let her get you to reduce.
I mean, if Don is right about that, there's all sorts of issues when it comes to what the Bible has to say with divorce and what Jesus specifically has to say with divorce. God doesn't want you to be with that woman. You're married to that woman because you are married. That's the will of God. Bottom line.
Your commitment to God, to the ministry, or anything of that nature. You can see him breaking when his wife stresses him out. And lastly, if his wife withholds sex or food, he caves to her will.
Wait,
so
what?
that's
What?
wife withholds.
If his wife withholds sex or food. Oh, I heard for food. And I was like, what? Hey, bro, if your wife is withholding sex and food from you, that's like abuse status. She's not feeding you. The other thing I would have to say is like, are you just gonna starve and die? Can you not feed yourself as a grown man? Like, if my wife was like, I'm not gonna feed you, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna make some food. Do you want some? Like the unhealthiness in the underlying assumptions to these advice points, I guess, is horrendous. If you are married and you guys barter together, and you are, and I think David is right, that you're manipulating. If your wife is using things to manipulate to do certain things, love isn't there. Your wife doesn't have to threaten you to do things. And if it's come to that point, something's off. And so you got to kind of go back to the drawing board and fix it. If a husband is threatening his wife, that there's a problem there. Right? Maybe this is where people would be comfortable with the language of partnership. See, the Bible goes beyond partnership. The Bible speaks about one flesh. When I read these points, my immediate response is the one flesh mentality doesn't exist there. Remember, there's a theology of this is why a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. The two shall become one. Now, because we are individuals and we grew up in separate homes and all that stuff, now this is turning into a marriage channel, I guess. You're always going to have conflicts. You're going to have things, done a certain way, and we take the trash out like this, and you guys did it like that. And so you kind of try to figure it out when you're married. And as you become more established in your marriage, personalities and stuff, like you start tolerating things. You start realizing that's the way your wife likes to do it. That's the way your husband likes to do it. And there's constant compromise. There's constant love. There's constant consider the needs of others before your own. When I read this, I go, wait, who's considering whose needs before their own? Is the wife considering her husband's needs before his own? Is the husband considering his wife's needs? Like, Scripture has an answer to every single one of these points as to why I think it's just bad advice.
Sex or food, he caves to her will. So that's the doctrine that I was being taught, right? And so I've bought into this. This is my man of God, filled with the Holy Spirit, casting out demons, a perfect doctrine, all of that. Been a pastor for almost a decade, been a Christian for over a decade, has his own church, has followers. the works, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, this is, I'm buying into this. And so my wife, again, I say all that to say, he didn't force me. He wasn't forcing me to come,
Of course.
right? But he couldn't bless me not coming. He couldn't say you're doing the right thing by trying to compromise with your wife, maybe not coming or trying to find some middle ground or anything like that. Why? Because you want to come here and you want to serve God and you want to cast out demons and be around the brethren. And so and that's what God is clearly telling you to do. And so if you don't do that, you are an Ahab and God is going to take everything away. In fact, I am 1,000% sure that's what he's telling all of his followers right now. See, Don submitted to the spirit of Ahab. He wanted to please his wife, which is completely false. When I left, my wife had given up. I had completely broken her spirit. But, we'll get to that part of the story anyway. But that's what he's telling them. And this is why I've left the faith and God took away my zeal and all of that. So anyway, I went ahead and, now I'm in, so that's why I'm stuck. I'm stuck. What do? Do I Ahab it out and try to compromise with my wife? Or do I trust in the Lord and go and just, if God wants us to be married, because again, also Calvinism, God predetermines everything. It's not up to me whether or not my wife.
Oh gosh, come on! So here are the things I think that Don says that shows me that he doesn't understand those things well enough. Okay, like it really. Calvinism. Oh yeah, God. No, that's not true. Like that's like read Calvinist theology. Like there's like a surface level doctrinal understanding of things, guys, and I'll say this to all of you. There are surface level understandings of doctrinal points, and then there's expert level understandings. Be very careful not to confuse those things.
If is going to submit and be a woman of God, which my wife was a Christian all the way up until this point, right? I had no reason to believe she wasn't a Christian. She was no less imperfect than any other Christian woman I came across, no less imperfect or no more imperfect than me. You know what I'm saying? And she was doing all the things, right? I had no evidence that she was practicing any willful sin or anything. I mean, yeah, she liked to sneak and, watch a little reality TV here and there, you know what I'm saying? But that was literally it. And she used to tell me that she would feel so convicted and
watching reality TV is sinful now? Okay.
Like she would kind of not want to do it because she was worried what I would think about it. But besides that, and she wasn't drinking. She was pretty much pregnant the whole time. For the past 3 years. This is the first time in the last 2 months my wife hasn't been pregnant and breastfeeding. And we've been married for over 3 years. This is the first time. Like the last month or so is the first time.
Brother, newly married man, and you're putting your wife through that kind of stuff, is that you're just a fool. Especially when you change your doctrinal points 15 times in a matter of a year. That I can't say, like, just frankly, if you came to my church and you're like, Art, hey, I need some advice, man. Can we talk? I was like, cool, let's talk. And then you're like, we just got married. I believe this. And then I went here and then I came back here and I no longer believe in the Trinity. And then now I'm seeing this guy and he's being influential and I want to move there. And my wife, I would look at you and say, you are a fool that you are newly married, pregnant wife, and you're putting your family through all this stuff because of your instability.
The last month, first time since we've been married that she wasn't pregnant or breastfeeding in over 3 years. And so, yeah. And so she pretty much never drank, and so she didn't really have anything for me to look at. She was home all the time, right? I can count the amount of times in 3 years my wife went out with her friends on one hand. And when she did go out with her friends, she took the kids and they went to like have lunch or something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like my wife was now, I guess you can never look into anyone's heart and know exactly how much conviction is really there and how much, how really convinced they are. But, all we really have to go off are the fruits of how a person behaves. And based on that, up until this point, I had no reason to believe my wife wasn't a Christian. But now she didn't want to go. She's rebelling against her husband.
No, she's rebelling against stupidity, right? Like that again. Like if I was an elder and you were at my church, I'd say your wife is fully in the right. You are being stupid. Stop listening to random stuff. Love your wife, care for her, cherish her, take care of your family, relax on your doctrine and your doctrinal change every 8 seconds. Get your life straight. But the problem is that you weren't in a setting like that. Again, like Don, you just were not in a setting like that, my brother. You didn't go to church. You weren't in a good community. You were on the internet. You were changing your doctrine every 5 seconds, going from this belief to that belief to that belief to that belief. And then you found a guy on the internet who is already suspect, given the number of things that he taught on big issue stuff. This would have been at a time when Chris LaSala was blatantly speaking against the Trinity. But again, you had changed your view on that as well, so I can see why you gravitate towards that. But there's other things that you can think about and observe about people and be like, I don't think this makes sense. Like this seems kind of out of the ordinary. I got to go and live with him on his whole thing. That seems weird.
Like, I'm not laughing at you for where you were because I know you're not there now, and I'm not there, of course. But this guy is clearly checking off the list of the bite model, the culty bite model. And in the church I was in, it was this kind of mentality: the wife must surrender, submit, and don't be this weak ass man, head of the household. You need to like run the show in everything, and she needs to submit. If not, you might need to go and exchange. You know what I mean? Like this idea of divorce and like leave her.
What? You guys, so this is where I have problems with this stuff, man. Like these guys come out and they talk about how they deconverted from Christianity, and then everything they tell me about the Christianity they practiced is ridiculously problematic. And they go, oh yeah, I was a fundamentalist and I believe this stuff, but you know, they also believe like you can exchange your wife. It's like, what the hell? Like, Derek, how do I take you seriously as someone who left Christianity and is the champion of like YouTube atheism now, when you went to a church that blatantly violates with Jesus' words when it comes to marriage and divorce? And you thought that was a biblical church, and now you go, oh, that's what I left, and then you're kind of on the attack against Christians. Give me a break.
If you need to. But in my mind, because I was the more zealot like you, I thought my wife may not be a Christian because she wasn't as obsessed and passionate the same way we were vocalizing it. So the church, I think, the leaders, the elders, my pastor, they thought maybe she wasn't a Christian. They didn't say you need to leave her or anything like that, but it did create tension between me and her. And then now I'm having marriage counseling with the guys that I didn't help the situation by mentioning that I'm not so sure if my wife is saved. And now there's tension between me and her, and me trying to like get that out of her and get her to be for real about Jesus, and having this guy now who's actually kind of orchestrating behind the scenes of like, you should question your wife about these things. I understand what you're saying here. So the counseling that I had was surrounding the idea of me not thinking she was a Christian based on how the pastors and the elders and the teachings were of this church. So I'm just saying, like, it was a circle where I'm asking for help, marriage counseling from the guy who doesn't think she's probably a Christian. Does that make sense? Like what's happening?
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly what happened to me. I'm getting there. So
okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. And so I so now my wife is rebelling against me. That's how I'm looking at it. She has a spirit of Jezebel within her. She does not want to submit and just allow me to serve God. And now I'm starting to believe, because now I believe that this whole wanting to cast out demons thing is the standard of if you're a real Christian. If you don't believe you have demons and you don't believe in the power of casting out demons, you're not even a real Christian. Maybe you're like at best like a superficial head knowledge, lukewarm kind of Christian. But the real Christians, they're tapped in with this power and they don't want to get in the way of accomplishing this work for God. And so now I'm looking at my wife and I'm thinking, you don't believe that demons were cast out of me? Like, you don't believe I'm casting demons out of people? And by this point, now I'm casting demons out of people calling in privately, by the way. Like, people are calling in, like emailing me. I'm setting up private one-on-one Skype sessions with them, spending an hour casting demons out of them through Skype. Just me and them, not being recorded, not to put on YouTube, anything. I really believe this stuff. I'm really trying to get work done. And so I'm like, you don't believe this stuff? And if you do, why would you want me to not go there and get and accomplish this? And so I start thinking she's not a Christian. My pastor also suggests the possibility that she's not a Christian and not a believer, and reminds me that election isn't a choice, right? Election isn't a choice. It could be possible. You didn't marry this woman as a Christian. What are the chances that both of you are elect? Both of you are unchristian, and you know, and both of you are also elect and come to believe in God. And so it's possible, you know. And so I'm now thinking like that. You know, I had the idea myself. Like you said, I articulated it to him. He was like, that's not the craziest possibility in the world. She might not be a Christian.
Right.
In fact, I'm sure his congregation has heard him say that many times by this point in time, that she wasn't a Christian. And so
Neither were you, right?
right, well, of course, now that's obviously I wasn't. I mean, I don't even know if you'd go so far as to say that I really did believe and I just fell away because I submitted to Ahab, the spirit of Ahab, or if now he would just say, he was just never a believer anyway. He was faking it the whole time. Could go either way, you know. But anyway, so I'm like, I'm now my wife and I start fighting bitterly. Like it gets worse and worse over time. I'm trying to convince her to go. She doesn't.
So here's my question constantly, you guys. This is my like, are you reading the Bible? Not selectively reading the Bible. Not here's a verse there, there's a verse there, there's a verse there. Are you reading the Bible in context? You're sitting down, you're reading, you're trying to understand. You're not reading weird ideas into things like, you know, the Ahabism. Just reading the words of Jesus about divorce, reading the words of Paul about compassion and love and considering the needs of others before your own, and then comparing it. This is why scripture has, like we regularly speak about, like being like the Bereans. Like, are you being a Berean? Are you comparing the stuff you're hearing? Look, I go to a very, like, pretty decent church. Good community, good teaching, good people. I don't check my brain because the pastor, my fellow elder, is my brother in the Lord, and I love him and trust him. When I'm listening to a sermon on Sunday, I'm not just there to, you know, cheer him on. Like, he says something, and I'm like, come on now, amen. Like, I'm here, I'm your hype man in the crowd. I'm critically analyzing his sermon. I'm comparing it to what he's teaching, what the actual word is. I'm sitting there with my iPad most of the time, and I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes about my personal life, things that would be applicable. I'm taking notes, and like he might say something about a passage, and I go, oh, that's interesting. He said the Greek word for that is that. I'll jump in, I'll check the Greek word, I'll see whether that's the case. Because I don't think my pastor is infallible. You know why and how I know that? Because I preach regularly. I'm sharing the Bible regularly. I teach the Bible. I taught the Bible for 10 years every single Sunday. You know how I know pastors can be wrong about stuff they teach? Because I've been wrong about stuff I've taught. And I've enjoyed and I've loved the fact that there's people in my congregation at the time who would come to me and say, Art, you said this, and I'm not sure about that. But have you thought about it? This, and I said, wow, I didn't think about that. Maybe I should reason a little bit more about that. Like, these guys that are saying all these things, are they doing this? Like, again, I don't know how you can come across very simple. I'm not talking about doctrine. I'm not talking about philosophy. I'm not talking about church fathers and what this guy said and that guy said. I'm just like, right, I'm like, pick up your Bible, open it up. Right. And you read things like Philippians chapter 1, verse 15. Some indeed preach Christ from envy and rivalry, but others from goodwill. The latter do it out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former proclaim Christ out of rivalry, not sincerely, but thinking to afflict me in my imprisonment. What then? Only that in every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is proclaimed, and in that I rejoice. Like, when you read that, you go, man, there are people out there. There were people during Paul's time when he's writing this, and he's in prison when he's writing this. There were people in Paul's time that were preaching the gospel for selfish gain and their own ambitions. And he talks about rejoicing, even in his difficulties, even what those people have put him through. So in chapter 2, verse 1, he goes on to say, so if there's any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and one mind. Do nothing from rivalry or conceit, because he just spoke about that, so it makes sense. But in humility, count others more significant than yourself. And you hear someone saying, no, you just ignore them and exchange them and whatever else nonsense they're talking about. And you read, like, that doesn't take a lot of doctrine, you guys. That just takes about 15 minutes of reading and paying attention and saying, wow, do nothing from rivalry or conceit. Some say vain conceit. But in humility, count others more significant than yourself. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Let each of you look not only to your interests, but also the interests of others. Have this mind among yourself, which is yours in Christ Jesus. Have this mind among yourselves, which, and then he goes to speak about the humility of the second person of the Trinity and the incarnation. Now, you can say that whole process in regards to the whole conversation, the verse 6 and on, is quite a bit of heavy theology. But the heavy theology is put there to support a very practical thing about considering the needs of others before your own. And then when you have individuals that are coming there and essentially teaching you not to consider the interests of others before your own, that is contradictory to the Word of God. And if you spend a little bit of time in the Word of God, then you wouldn't pay attention to the nonsense that's being spewed. Let me put it this way. And again, new believer changing his mind on a bunch of stuff, has influence on the internet. Like, I get how these things work. If I got an email like that from someone, and that's kind of the stuff they explained, and I wouldn't even finish the whole thing. I'd probably read the first 8 of them and be like, this is absolute trash. Delete it. Not every conversation is worth having. Not every debate is worth having. Just understand my heart, guys, please. Understand what I'm trying to say. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Like, the good amount of you guys have known me for a long time and have seen me, and like, bro, seriously. I mean, you guys have probably seen me pull out my phone and look at it and go like, oh man, it's my wife texted me. It's time. I got to go because there's stuff that needs to get done, which I just realized my eye doctor has texted me. Hello, Arthur. This is okay. Appointment. Filled it out. Yes. I got to be there at 3:45, by the way, so. Ooh, I think I need to get on the road. Man, I didn't realize it's going to be traffic like this. Sheesh. I thought it was going to take me like 10 minutes to get there. Okay. Okay, we'll finish some of my thoughts and then we'll move on. Like, you guys understand what I'm trying to say? Like, when people come out and they're like, I deconverted this, and then you hear their stories. I would say the same thing when it comes to atheists, right? Like, they had like very elementary level understanding of things. Kind of go, look, I'm not. That's not to devalue their conversion, and I'm not gonna devalue somebody leaving the faith. But I think legitimate questions need to be brought up as to whether you understood these things well enough for it to be considered actually changing your mind. I say this about theological subjects. People go, I was a Calvinist. I'm no longer a Calvinist. I go, cool. Tell me about Calvinism. And then they restate Calvinism. And it's like, that's not what Calvinism is. I don't know what you were. It wasn't a Calvinist. Or the other way around. Oh man, I was Wesleyan Arminian in my theology, and I became a Calvinist because all that stuff teaches this. And it's like, cool, tell me what that is. And they tell you what it is, and you go, what are you talking about? You figured out a certain theological perspective and studied it and were convinced by it, but don't tell me you were this, and then you changed over to this when you can't even properly explain to me what that view is. Yeah, Alexandria's in her experience, hey, I had an elementary level of Christianity as a progressive Christian. Yeah. That's the sort of stuff I'm talking about. Okay, man, I would love to stick around with you guys, and I was planning on sticking around with you guys until like 3:20. And then heading out, but I just checked the traffic, and it's telling me it's going to take me 30 minutes to get there. Let me actually do something here. If I were to leave at 3:20, yep, yeah, still take same time. Okay. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure. Again, thank you guys. If you guys want to give towards the computer or jump on Patreon, become a supporter, we'd really appreciate that. Again, I've asked you guys to pray for me. Continue praying for me. I got an MRI for my knee. Tomorrow I got a doctor's appointment next Thursday. Again, my eyes. I think I'm going to get like everything checked. I might get contact lenses as well to wear them whenever, I don't want to wear glasses. But I haven't worn contacts in a long time. The last time I tried wearing contacts, I was wearing contacts for a while. But it started really giving me headaches and they just didn't work well. But, yep. Love you guys. I will definitely be streaming tomorrow. Probably in the afternoon. Yeah, I'm guessing 2:30 or so. Pacific Standard Time. Appreciate you guys. Autumn, hey, it's good seeing you in here, bro. God bless you. Narek, Jimmy, Alexandra, Jerome, all you guys. I know Petros was in here. Petros was, he liked, I don't know if he had seen this. I guess he was filming it and he got called out for idolatry. I noticed that. With all that said, God bless you guys. See you tomorrow. Take care.